My name is Jason Jay. I am the director of the MIT Sloan Initiative for Sustainable Business and Society. I teach at the Sloan School and get to engage with MBA students who are looking to build careers in sustainability. And I was invited by the Sloan Management Review to be part of this conversation today, which I'm very excited to get to meet these two gentlemen. I'm here with Peter Graff from SAP and Wood Turner from Stonyfield Farm. This conversation is part of the Sustainability and Innovation Hub that the MIT Sloan Management Review has been developing with the Boston Consulting Group. We've recently released a survey talking about the movement for sustainability within the corporate sector and how sustainability as a driver of business innovation and business value creation really has gotten a tremendous amount of momentum over the past few years. 2/3 of companies have a substantial sustainability strategy. 1/3 of companies have identified it as a key driver of profitability. And it's becoming something that is top of mind for executives across different functional areas and is increasingly being embedded into the management practices of organizations. And a key aspect of embedding sustainability into the life and management practice of an organization is getting it into the information systems. The conversation today really picks up from that axiom that what gets measured gets managed. So what we're going to do today is hear a little bit from Peter and Wood about about their respective businesses, about the partnership that's evolving, about the tools that are involved, and about what all of this really means for the context of sustainability in business right now. I'm going to introduce first Peter Graff. Peter is the Chief Sustainability Officer and the Executive Vice President of Sustainability Solutions for SAP. He's based out in Palo Alto, California, and he's here through video conference. Peter is responsible for developing sustainable solutions for SAP's customers, as well as for driving sustainable operations within SAP. He's held a variety of different management roles, including being the Executive Vice President of Solutions Marketing for SAP, developing solutions for a variety of different industries. He has a master's in computer science, a PhD in artificial intelligence, and we're very lucky to have him here. Wood Turner is the Vice President of Sustainability Innovation for organic yogurt pioneer Stonyfield Farm. He's the company's lead advocate, facilitator, and educator around sustainability issues. He's responsible for driving and catalyzing efforts around Stonyfield that help fulfill their mission to minimize environmental impact and drive innovation for sustainability. Prior to Stonyfield, Wood was the executive director of Climate Counts, which is a really significant nonprofit that scores companies annually on their measurable carbon emissions. And in that context, he's appeared in a variety of different media outlets, including the New York Times, NPR, The Economist, BBC, Harvard Business Review, and we welcome him here today to the Sloan Management Review.
Great to be here.
So Peter, I think we'll get started with you. I'd like to just have you share a little bit about SAP as an enterprise, the kind of businesses you're in, the position that you have, and then maybe a little bit about how this interest in sustainability has come about and the direction that SAP is taking in this space.
Thank you very much, Jason. SAP, as many of you know, is an enterprise software company, and we've been around for 40 years, so we're celebrating our birthday this year. Staying young for 40 years means innovation plays a key role, and we do that in collaborating with our customers, because we deliver the software, our customers have the industry expertise. Now, SAP in its business, and as a market leader, the market leader in enterprise software, we have been managing resources for so long, resources like financial resources, human resources, assets, and production lines, for example. Now, in this world of the triple bottom line, it is not enough to just look at the traditional capital that a company has. Things like environmental capital, things like social capital play an increasing role. That's why SAP has declared sustainability the purpose of the company. That's why we exist. We want to be the company that not only helps manage the traditional resources of a company like finances and human resources, we want to be the company that also helps companies optimize energy consumption, optimize the material, ensure the safety of their products, ensure that they can optimize their supply chains according to profitability, environmental impact, and social impact. That's SAP in a nutshell. Almost 200,000 companies around the world use SAP. and we now have around 55,000 employees. So it's a very exciting field for us because we can take the core of what we do and apply it to something that is so important for all of us.
Yeah, and I think what you've just described about SAP really reflects what we've been seeing through the Sloan Management Review Business and Innovation Project, is that companies are understanding sustainability to be something core to their business, core to their product and service mix, core to their innovation process. And SAP, as you said, a global leader in the business software space, is a good example of that.
It's funny because I do talk to a lot of companies, and they often say, well, you have it easy, you're doing software. But I do believe that there is a process that leads every company to that core, and the successful sustainability officers that I know are very, very close to that value creation in their business. And then it becomes easy, just to put it in quotes.
Right, right. Well, we all know that none of these things are quite easy. There's a journey involved, and part of what we're going to do today is try to explore what that journey looks like for Stonyfield Farm. So I'd like to use that opportunity to talk to Wood a little bit and let you introduce the enterprise that you're coming from.
Well, we're a company that's been around for about 29 years. We were started on a small farm in Wilton, New Hampshire. We always talk about the 7 cows in the leaky barn that our founder and CEO Gary Hirschberg himself used to milk and use to make the yogurt. Gary's just transitioned away from the CEO role. He's now the chair of our board, but has been iconic for us in terms of leading a true sustainability vision. I think he's always believed that this false dichotomy that has existed in the past between deep environmental values at the corporate level and financial performance or success as a business don't have to be separate. They are in fact one and the same. They can in fact be one and the same. That you can in fact, as he said in his book, Stirring It Up, you can save the world and make money, and so it's a great message that we're all, as a company much smaller than SAP actually, but it's all a great message that we at Stonyfield are incredibly energized by and fully supportive of, and have a great team in New Hampshire that are sort of aligned on this issue. We started as an environmental education center that transitioned into a company, and we had a great product, a great yogurt that people wanted to buy, and it's paved the way to great success over the years. We were the first company in 1997, first company in the U.S. to offset 100% of our greenhouse gas emissions at the manufacturing level, and it's just gone on from there. We've been focused on tracking our environmental impacts for a long time, tracking product level impacts, really looking at packaging impacts. We have a packaging scorecard that we use to evaluate every decision that we make in terms of packaging choices that we're going to use, that we'd like to pursue. 5 years ago, we started a program called our Mission Action Program, MAP, that is a cross-functional sort of coalition of teams that tackle specific issues related to specific environmental issues in our business, and it's helped us avoid multiple $1 million in costs over the years. So it's very much embedded in who we are as a company, and I think that leadership on sustainability is one of the things that attracted Danone to us several years ago when we became part of Group Danone. We are the sustainability flagship for the group worldwide, and we get reminders of that all the time. I think the group loves the relationship with us because we are a willing and eager lab to test new solutions to climate issues, to water consumption, to a full range of issues, and that was why being able to be a pilot company for this particular relationship was fantastic for us. So
we've heard a bit from Peter about SAP's work in this space, and from Wood about Stonyfield's position in sustainability. I'd like to now talk a bit about the relationship that's evolving between the two companies and the project that you're undertaking. And first, what I'd like to do is just hear from both of you, and we'll start with Wood, about what do you see as the vision and goals of this collaboration? What are you really trying to accomplish?
As I said, we've been focused on measuring our impact for a long time as a company, Stonyfield. And for us, as the company has grown, it becomes more and more challenging to measure that impact in a meaningful way. And with limited resources, a relatively small company, we are looking for as many opportunities as we can to innovate that enterprise carbon accounting, to find ways to get better real-time data, to engage more people in our company in the collection and analysis of that data, and to find increasingly creative ways to integrate that information into the management level decisions and in potentially our communication with consumers. So that's really the heart of the matter for us.
Got it. And you used the word carbon accounting. Can you just say a little bit about this particular focus on carbon as a starting point, what the drivers are for that, why start there as part of this measurement activity?
We as a company believe that climate change, the global climate crisis, is one of the biggest challenges that we face as a society, and we want to be involved in solutions to that problem. But it's also one of the biggest challenges that business faces. When you think about greenhouse gas emissions, that is money, that is waste, that is a resource that could be better leveraged, better managed to benefit the business. And so we want to count we want to count the carbon. We want to, just like any resource that we have, we want to count the carbon that we're responsible for throughout the value chain, throughout the supply chain. And so it's directly connected to sort of how we measure ourselves as a business and how we gauge success.
Okay, great. Peter, could you say a little bit about what you see as the vision and goals of the collaboration with Stonyfield?
First of all, when we look at carbon, we don't see it so much of a risk. We really see it as an opportunity. And what carbon accounting allows you to do is to see inefficiencies, as we just explained, inefficiencies in your system. The traditional way of looking at carbon is to create what's called a corporate carbon footprint, which would sum up carbon costs by travel, carbon costs by production, carbon cost by the material and the goods that you purchase as part of your overall production processes. If you do that, then you will have a good idea at the corporate level, but it will be extremely difficult to really understand and to really optimize your business processes. So for example, if you find out that in your overall production process, 80% of your carbon sits, that doesn't give you a lot of ideas how exactly can you now go after these inefficiencies. Now, what we've done together with Stonyfield is that we have taken this approach and not looked at it from a corporate perspective and kind of take a top-down approach, but we took a bottoms-up approach, meaning we have worked together with them to find for each and every one of their products what the carbon impact is, to unveil inefficiencies in the overall supply chain and to use the information in order to compete better in the marketplace when people have the information at the point of purchase. So what really happens is that we go from an overall statement, we have 5 million tons of carbon and we consume so much energy, to a much more precise and actionable accounting on the product level. Now, when you have that information, you can go to the product owner and say, okay, why does this yogurt have a higher footprint than that? Look in your supply chain. Where do you source the milk? Where do you source the container? Where do you source the lids? How far do you transport? And now, for every one of those SKUs, you can get that information. That unleashes opportunities to optimize that you would not see if you only looked at the corporate level.
Got it. So there's been a lot of discussion in the marketplace about taking a life cycle approach to carbon accounting and to environmental impact analysis and sustainability impact analysis more generally. Walmart has been saying that they're going to ask their suppliers to do life cycle analyses of different kinds of products, and life cycle analysis has become sort of a growing industry and conversation. How is what SAP is offering here similar or different to hiring someone to conduct a life cycle analysis of one of these products and identifying its extended carbon footprint at the product level?
Yeah, I would say the business changes too fast to deal with to deal with these issues on a consulting basis. We have to be able to have that information integrated as we're thinking about product innovation, as we're thinking about new SKUs, and we need tools. We need a tool like this to be able to really make it a part of sort of real-time management, to make it a part of real-time product development, not something that we sort of have to put in sort of on a project pathway that may take may take who knows how long to implement. So the business environment is too dynamic for the alternative.
So, but one of the reasons that lifecycle analysis can be so expensive is that you have to get all this data from first, second, third tier suppliers, and you may not have visibility into that supply chain. Now, Stonyfield, you can say a little bit about what your overall supply chain looks like, but I know that there's a banana flavor yogurt. My son likes it. You're probably sourcing bananas from the tropics. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have visibility back into that supply chain, but part of what's expensive in these processes is getting data from suppliers. How is that problem solved by this kind of software and technology? Because essentially, some of that is just about getting suppliers to be willing to share information about their operation. So where does the SAP tool play a role in that supply chain transparency problem of lifecycle analysis? I don't know, Peter, maybe you have some thoughts about that.
Well, the ultimate goal is that you would automatically collect all that information from the suppliers. But the beauty about working with a market leader like Stonyfield is that their purchasing power actually impacts their suppliers. They want to be, they want to please, they want to sell to Stonyfield. So right now there is experts that work with those suppliers to come up with the right input, if you will. But that input is then used in many different roll-ups of how that information gets aggregated to put that product footprint on an individual SKU. So we are right at the beginning with this, and there is an increasing amount of automation that is happening as we speak.
So we talked a little bit about how to compare lifecycle analysis from a sort of episodic consulting basis. Someone comes in, looks at a particular SKU, does a really detailed lifecycle analysis, gives you some recommendations. We're saying, okay, we're going to embed that in our management practices. We're going to automate it a little bit. I'd like to do another comparison here, if I could, just to help us further understand where this type of tool fits into the landscape. The other approach that's been suggested here at MIT by the source map group in the MIT Media Lab is to essentially make these data platforms kind of open source or open data, essentially, so that any of these suppliers could plug in their footprint and their carbon impact into an open tool, and we'd kind of create a radical visibility and openness to this kind of accounting. The SAP solution strikes me as a little bit more kind of proprietary and closed, but I'm just wondering, how do you guys think about, if we're on a pathway towards this radical transparency, where do we sit, and how do you think about that marketplace?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we as a company are incredibly excited about the idea of creating visibility for our consumers into our supply chains in as many ways as possible. We've been telling those stories for a long time as a company about who we work with and what our support for small growers actually means. But as Peter suggests, there's an opportunity here to begin to communicate about those relationships in a more data-driven way. I'm not sure where we are. There's been a lot of change in that thinking over the last several years in terms of what the consumer will act upon, what will drive purchasing decisions, will information about, is it the narrative about our banana suppliers that matters, or is it their impact that matters? We like to think that it's some combination of both, but I think our take on the radical transparency idea is that we can use information like this to begin to add dimension, I guess, to the narrative that we're already telling about our bananas. So the consumer may not be ready today to really get into the weeds, if you will, on carbon footprint. But it's only a matter of time. I mean, you mentioned my work at Climate Counts. I have been working and looking at the impacts and the relative climate leadership of 150 global companies for the last 5 years, and it's incredibly divergent, if you will, about how those different companies deal with these issues. But what I hear over and over and over again from all those companies is, we may not be engaging the consumer today on our carbon footprint or tomorrow on our carbon footprint, but it's coming 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And so I see lots of companies preparing for that. I think from our standpoint, we've been focused on it for a long, long time, focused on communicating that sustainability, that environmental difference in our product. And this tool, this resource is only going to, as it evolves and as this relationship evolves, is only going to make that better.
So in the long run, this is going to help you sell yogurt.
That would be the goal. That would be the goal. I mean, we as a deeply held value in the company believe we have to be educating our consumers and our stakeholders and ourselves about impacts, about everything about our product. And so I think sustainability and carbon footprint is absolutely one of those things. We have to tell the consumer why our product is better than the alternative because of our relative footprint.
Mm-hmm. Peter, you want to step?
Jason, two points, if I may. You talked about the closed system, and I want to elaborate on that statement. First of all, as Wood just said very, very exactly, this is not about value created for Stonyfield or Danone that lies in the future. This is about increasing profitability today to using this product level information to drive efficiencies of the value chain. First and foremost, Danone goes as far as compensating those people in charge of those products according to the product footprint of the products, because they believe it drives profitability of the business today, and it prepares Danone to become even more competitive in the marketplace as the awareness of consumers is rising. The second point I'd like to make is that of competition and cooperation. We have started a long time ago to co-innovate with customers around the field of sustainability. Now, at the beginning, companies were very nervous about what they do with us and co-innovate with us and how we would make that available to other companies. Because they said it's really about a competitive advantage we create for ourselves, and we're really not ready to share that with others. That has completely changed. Danone is actually driving us, helping us to bring this solution to other companies, many other companies, part of them direct competitors to Danone, because they believe it's the right approach and they believe it helps efficiencies for everybody in the market. It also means that once this approach is catching fire, more and more of the suppliers will actually implement systems similar to that of Danone for them to actually optimize their part of the supply chain too, and being able to provide more precise data to Stonyfield and Danone as a second step. So is this a closed system? Not at all. Actually, we're working together with Stonyfield and Danone, for example, by making ourselves available for this session to tell the world about how beautiful this is and how other companies can drive profitability today.
When we're talking about this kind of high degree of transparency around carbon accounting, and both for kind of internal business capture and for external display to the world, what are the major drivers in this? Is it about your customers? Is it about government regulations? Is it about NGOs? And I mean, how do you guys think about the drivers of what you're doing here and what motivates you?
I mean, it clearly is different from company to company. I think some companies are concerned about the future regulation of greenhouse gases. Others are concerned and scrambling about what their major retail customers are asking them to do. At Stonyfield, we just don't see it that way. We're not a compliance-oriented organization. We're a leadership-oriented organization, and are trying to find solutions, find new and better ways to track the impacts that we already care about so deeply, and create sort of costs to our business, whether they be environmental costs or financial costs, and turning those into turning it into value. So Are we waiting around for our retail customers to ask us, how we're going to do on carbon accounting? Not at all. In fact, we're trying to demonstrate the leadership we've shown in the past and the elevated leadership we're able to show with a tool like this to our customers to say, this is how we do it. This is what we're able to do. You should be looking at asking this of other companies. So it's not. It's more of a. We like to think of our relationship with customers as a deep collaboration. We've demonstrated what we can do on sustainability. We want to pass that along to those customers.
Yes, which is there's a fantastic analogy here, right?
Yeah.
Stonyfield, you're saying we want to be leaders in the space of becoming transparent, help retailers understand what's possible, and then maybe they'll encourage some of their other suppliers to get involved. SAP, Peter, you're saying something very similar here, that you're working with one company, Danone, other competitors of theirs are saying, we want to get involved as well, and Danone is saying, great, the more the merrier here, because the more data we have and the more transparent the whole system becomes, the easier it is to kind of manage these life cycle footprints and impacts. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I would say, look, there's a race to the top on sustainability. I mean, I think we see it in so many sectors. There are sectors. I think about the consumer shipping sector, for example, the logistics sector. I mean, there's a race to the top between the leading companies in that sector to really demonstrate that they're more serious, more committed, more able to address sustainability concerns than the competition. And that's what's exciting about this kind of work. Whether it be Danone sharing its technology with or sharing this tool with other competitors, whether it be us trying to influence our customers to ask those questions of companies we compete with, that puts pressure. That's upward pressure on the issue as a whole. It allows all these companies to sort of reach for this new bar, this new standard, and we think as a company we're well positioned because of our track record to lead and to continue to lead with it, and particularly with help from a tool like this. But that's what's exciting about sustainability is that we talk about innovation. When companies are trying to essentially outcompete each other on carbon footprint, outcompete each other on sustainability, it's better for the planet. It's better for all of us.
Peter, do you want to add something on that?
Yes. I want to talk a little bit about SAP and why we got engaged and why we're so passionate about this topic. First of all, many people might not know that SAP's product safety solutions protect 800 million consumers every day. So we have an enormous footprint in this business of bringing products to market for people to consume. And we're very proud to count the largest companies and the largest consumer product companies and retailers as our customers. What we have done is that we have taken our profitability and cost management modules and extended in order to also keep track of carbon and in the future also water and other environmental impacts. And even when you look at that from a technology perspective and from how the architecture works, we've put environmental indicators next to accounting for money. That is the ultimate reasons why companies do this. Sustainability is not a higher calling for those companies. While it might be a driver, it must work from a business perspective. And that's why companies are adopting this. They are concerned about everybody being connected. Everyone has a mobile phone. If anything goes wrong, everybody knows about it in a second or two, right? People are worried about their brand. They're worried about mitigating the risk against volatile energy prices, all those kind of things, and all those stakeholders do this because at the end of the day, it means better business. And that's what I think Wood means when he says there's a race to the top, not for the sake of sustainability itself, but for the sake of building a better organization, a more robust business, a faster growing business, a more profitable business. That's the reason.
I totally agree with you, Peter, and that's when I say the race to the top, I only say that the race to the top is on sustainability is a recognition by some of these businesses that is a way to create additional value in the business. That when customers and consumers are asking these questions and want to know about sustainability performance, that's a bottom line opportunity. It just is, and I think that's a very good point.
So I'd like to get a little bit more concrete here. We've been talking a lot about how sustainability and working on your carbon footprint can be a driver of business value. And I just want to know if we could just get a couple of stories about, concrete projects that this kind of accounting has enabled, that and what the changes have been, what the savings have been, what the ROI looks like, just so we can get a little bit of a sense feel of what this is, how this is shaping up.
That's maybe a good opportunity to talk just a little bit about what we have done internally, because as you know, SAP is not only a provider of software to help companies run more profitably and sustainably, it's also a world-renowned practitioner. In the last 4 years, SAP has avoided cost in excess of $250 million by driving our own sustainability performance within the company. And that includes dramatic reductions of energy consumption in our data centers, a dramatic reduction in our facilities when we are doing new lighting systems, new cooling systems, air conditioning systems, and so forth, new architectures in our data centers, new policies for corporate cars, all those kind of things helped dramatically improve the bottom line of SAP. It also had an enormous impact on our employee engagement. SAP's employee engagement score jumped up by 9 percentage points just in the last year. And our own employees, 89% of them agree to the statement, it is important for SAP's future to drive sustainability for ourselves as well as through our products. So there is a dramatic shift, and we have really created very good value for the company, in addition to creating a new software market, helping shape a new software market and selling software, which goes back to the core of what we do best.
So when you say, Peter, that you've saved $250 million in that sort of annual savings or kind of one-time savings, or how do you think about that?
So the savings are between 2008 and 2012. So in a 4-year period, accumulative, we saved about $250 million. It's easy to save money when the economy goes down because there's just not as much business activity, and that certainly has an impact. But we also managed to reduce our footprint, for example, from 2009 to 2010, when our revenues grew by 20%, our footprint came down by 6%. Overall, we are now 19% lower in terms of our footprint since 2007, and we are on track to reduce our energy consumption to the level of 2000 by the year 2020. So we have absolute targets and we're going after them, but we could not do that without the visibility and the precision of the data capture mechanisms that we have within SAP. So energy for us is a major factor, and that's why we're driving this type of performance within SAP.
Sure, and you've talked about the cost savings that has to do with resource use and energy use and various kinds. You also talked about a 9% increase in employee engagement. Now, that can be translated into a dollar figure as well. Employee engagement numbers translate to turnover numbers and productivity numbers, and with good HR analytics, you can quantify those in financial terms. Is that something that you've done internally in SAP? Is it something that your tools enable? Or is that more kind of a horizon?
Jason, we certainly measure those numbers, but it's harder to attribute them only to measures around sustainability, unless you would say our HR department, who's done beautiful work in the last years, would consider themselves as a sustainability organization. So it gets a little harder to actually attribute it to one single activity, but I think the multitude of things we have done around women in management, the business health, and the health of our employees, there was a lot of investment. Plus, we are doing fabulously in the market right now. We just had another very, very strong year. All these things contribute to employees being overall happy. But the purpose of driving sustainability and shaping the way how businesses execute in the future with a triple bottom line approach, that is a strong motivator for all of us. And that's kind of the umbrella.
Can I add something to that? You know, I mentioned earlier that I talked about the fact that we have this mission action program, these cross-functional teams in the company that are ostensibly green teams. But, you know, when we're optimized for sustainability, Stonyfield itself functions as a holistic green team. We're all involved, and I think one of the things about this tool, concretely, that I think is helping with that is that it's able to help move the carbon accounting process or the sustainability measurement process out of the hands of a few and into the hands of many throughout the organization. I think sustainability departments, we being one of them, are evolving, or have evolved in recent years to sort of, instead of being these sort of silos within the organization, we're realizing that the sustainability function needs to be embedded throughout the organization. So to have someone in transportation logistics really inputting information for us into the carbon tool, to have someone involved on the packaging side doing exactly the same thing, it allows our sustainability folks to do good analysis, but it gets more people involved in this process, and it makes this sort of cultural basis for sustainability in an organization like Stonyfield, you know, that much stronger. We're all more focused and all recognize that we do all have environmental functions in our jobs. It's not just one or two people that have sustainability in their titles, it's the entire organization.
Yes. And has that greater visibility, are there any particular kind of projects or opportunities for investment or change of business practices that have been, that you know, Joe, the factory worker who has more visibility now has been able to suggest, or that you've seen, you've gotten a good cost savings or return on investment from?
You know, our tracking of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with our transportation and distribution, for example, I mean, that's been a huge area of innovation for us over the last few years, and I'm hopeful that the tool will continue to sort of allow us to do that. What we're able to do in SAP will help push us to the next level. You know, I mean, when we look at sort of the overall cost avoidance through our MAP program, you know, 2/3 of that of the amount of money that we've saved in the multiple millions of dollars has come from transportation innovation. So you know, conversion of a lot of our distribution to the West Coast to rail has been a huge part of that. And so it is through this visibility about carbon and greenhouse gas emissions that we're actually able to see those opportunities and recognize them as costs we can avoid and opportunities to add value. Same on the packaging side. I mean, that's another huge area for us. When we can see that lightweighting our packaging more and more, taking, you know, we were a sort of a pioneer in famously taking lids off of our 6-ounce cups. We now just have a foil top. I mean, that was a huge greenhouse gas emission savings for us. So everything that we do at the packaging level to sort of just take that much more material out of the package is made possible through tools like this, and we're excited about what that could be sort of moving forward.
So can you maybe give another concrete example of opportunities that you see in Stonyfield for using this kind of data visibility to get a return on investment?
Well, yeah, I'm really hopeful that there's going to be lots of opportunities to optimize for sustainability with the use of the tool over time. You know, I think about you know, some of the things that Peter's alluded to already about, you know, how we can take inefficiencies out of the process. I mean, imagine if you're delivering a truck full of yogurt to Nashville, Tennessee, and you offload 80% of it or something. I mean, and you're trying to figure out where that truck should go next. Is there a way to actually do that in the most efficient way possible? I mean, in a way, if we understand the greenhouse gas emissions, the carbon that's going to be emitted, and the efficiency of that emission, if you will, more effectively, we can make better decisions. So I just think that the more we know, it gives us more insight into actually how the business actually operates. And I think as we think about opportunities to extend the tool, and I'd love to hear Peter talk about this. You know, I'd love to see us get to a point where we can use the tool to track our water impacts, for example. We can use it to track our waste. It goes far beyond just a carbon management tool. Those are the impacts that we're managing right now on very clunky spreadsheets, frankly, that are challenging. If we can have a more consolidated way to actually look at that and analyze the data in real time and bubble it up or elevate it to the management level, using improved visualization tools for that information, we're really moving in the right direction.
And Jason, one point to add that we haven't really talked about is that food not only should be very tasty, like Stonyfield yogurt, and I really do eat it every day, it should also be healthy and it should be safe and nutritional. So there is much more information that you will benefit from as a company that's producing food if you have visibility across the supply chain. So I just want to make sure we're not confined only to carbon/energy and water. There's a lot of things about exposure to chemicals and things like that that are becoming more and more important as people's awareness about the health issue of food in general becomes to increase. So companies like Stonyfield can continue to benefit from such a fantastic reputation they have in the marketplace.
I mean, it strikes me that this is really kind of the value add here is this, you know, at MIT Sloan, we talk a lot about sustainability in a very integrative sense, that you can't look in isolation at the carbon, the water, the waste, the social justice, the economic concerns, that they're very much interconnected, and that and you have to, there are sort of better, there really are better management practices that kind of holistically create value in the enterprise. And it strikes me that the idea here is to develop, the big idea here is that we're trying to develop the tools that enable management in that more holistic way.
Yeah.
I'd like to, one thing that some of our audience may have in mind is, you know, Stonyfield has a very particular niche in the marketplace. You're in the food business. First of all, you're a consumer-facing company. You are in the food business. You're in the organic food business. You're in the organic food business as a leader in sustainability, with, you know, Gary Hirschberg appearing in, you know, Food Inc. and other contexts talking about organic agriculture. So I'm wondering, some of our audience may be thinking, is this only something for those guys who are way out in front and who are playing in this kind of sustainability niche? What's the relevance here for a broader array of companies? And in particular, if there's someone out there who's really at the early stages of a sustainability journey, where do they start? I want to make sure that we understand, you know, how we should be thinking about this.
I think Peter said it well, and I'll defer to him for some of the last point. But I think, you know, from our standpoint, we think everything that we're able to do as a company is relevant to other companies, frankly, because waste and inefficiency is money. It's real dollars, and every company in the world wants would you know, if you had more visibility into where you were inefficient, you'd put that money back, you'd save that money, you'd avoid those costs and put that money back into the business, put it back into your products, put it back into your employees. So, you know, that's the message that we think we have been sort of a lab, if you will, for sort of the global marketplace, to be able to say, you know, this is really what it's all about in a resource scarce, increasingly resource scarce world, in a world with uncertain economic forces at play. You know, we have to be managing these resources more efficiently because they are real cost to the business. So, you know, I don't think that we're in any way sort of irrelevant in that global story. I think we are hopefully a good protagonist, I guess, in an increasingly rich story that, you know, makes sense to other companies. And I think that's a testimony, or a testament to some of the things that some of the other companies that SAP works with. That it has gone beyond a relatively small organic pioneer in New England focused on sustainability.
Part of the movement certainly comes from the fact that companies are now using their procurement money to shape their supply chain. So this is not something that stays with the big companies who might have initially the resources to do a kind of innovation like this. As they are looking at their products that they ship to their customers, that product is only as good as the weakest link in that entire supply chain. So these companies are using their purchasing policy and their purchasing money, their buying power, in order to drive behavior of suppliers down the chain. So this is not something that stays with the big companies. We can already see it trickle in. And when the world's largest company, Walmart, is driving an index that forces every one of their suppliers to become more transparent, you can see a transparency movement going through the entire chain. And that's usually the first step. Everything in business has these three phases of creating transparency, then to start managing things, and then to start truly optimizing things. So in the sustainability movement, when it comes to supply chains, we are still at the transparency and the beginning of the management level. I think there are enormous opportunities for optimization that we haven't even tackled yet. And tools like the one we've developed and co-innovated with Stonyfield and Danone are the ones that are needed to get us to that stage of performance that supply chains can truly live up to. And leaders like Stonyfield show the way.
So if I'm a manager, I'm watching I'm watching our conversation here. I'm a manager inside a company that hasn't taken a stand in sustainability at the corporate level. Maybe we're running SAP, maybe we're not. And I just want to know where to start. I see this journey, I see this vision that you're laying out of transparency in the 21st century, and I get it, I get it. But I got to start somewhere. I've got to build credibility, I've got to build buy-in, I've got to get some quick wins. What do I do?
Well, company-wide leadership is where we started, and that's why this new innovation is so relevant to us, because it takes us to the next level. But we think there's an opportunity for lots of companies to sort of almost leapfrog this long process that we've had to sort of understand our carbon footprint, our company-wide carbon footprint, and really begin to focus on the opportunity to engage with consumers and the supply chain in a much more direct way at the product level. So it gets right to the heart of the matter, which is business operates at the product level.
So maybe you pick a product and get started there.
Sure.
Peter, what are your thoughts on that?
Usually the biggest aha moment is the first time you get to visibility on the product level, because you will find things out that you do not know before, and that often reveals the biggest opportunity for savings. Then once you've set the course, now it becomes a journey of continuous innovation and collaboration with your supply chain. So you can harvest the biggest bang for the buck right at the beginning of the project, and then you continue to stay the course and squeeze out more and more efficiencies as you go. So the first step is to create the transparency, even as Wood just said, for a reduced set of products, but get to the transparency and get ready to act on it, because the biggest aha moment is right at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think we obviously hope that like us, all companies are going to get the message very quickly. Are going to have that aha moment, and are going to recognize that it's got, the big opportunity, the longer term opportunity, is to go far beyond that one narrow set of products into a broad enterprise-wide level, a level of analysis. That's what we need as a society, and that's what the global challenge is all about. But the aha moments have to happen at the business level, and that's what's exciting.
So I think that's a good place to wrap up. Wood, thank you for being here from Stonyfield. Peter, thank you for being here through video conference from SAP. Just sort of reminds me actually that we've done some good modeling here about low carbon practices. Wood only had to drive down here from New Hampshire, and Peter, instead of flying across the country from Palo Alto, joined us through the miracles of modern technology, and only a few electrons were expended in the process. And I'd like to particularly thank our viewers for being a part of this conversation. The MIT Sloan Management Review has carried this out as part of our Sustainability and Innovation Hub. We invite you to participate online in the conversation about that. We'll be getting feedback from our viewers about the material and the themes that we've been exploring here, and look for the next iteration of the business survey around sustainability and innovation. Thank you very much, and good luck.